All right, let's dive into one of literature's most compelling and tragic figures, the Faustian Protagonist. Now, this isn't just some simple morality play. No, this is a deep character study, a look into the psychology of ambition and what happens when it gets mixed with a profound, bone-deep fear. It's a recipe for total self-destruction.
I want you to think of this as a kind of forensic case study. The protagonist's fall from grace? It is not an accident. It's an engineered demolition in three very clear stages: the man, the lure, and the cage. And the blueprint for his own ruin, tragically, is his own mind.
So, to really get our heads around this, we have to reframe the entire story. Just forget about magic and demons for a minute. Instead, I want you to think of this as a financial transaction, one that's gone horribly, horribly wrong. This is the story of a soul on loan with terms that absolutely guarantee a catastrophic default. And that, of course, brings us to the tempter, Mephistopheles. He's not some monster with a pitchfork. He's a predator, a loan officer. The source material just nails it, calling him the ultimate cynical banker of the human spirit. And that is exactly how we need to see him to understand what's really going on.
Okay, so if the tempter is our cynical banker, who's his perfect client? To get that, we need to profile the borrower himself. See, he's not just a good man who makes one bad choice. He's a walking liability, a soul already in deep, deep peril long before any contract is even on the table.
And the setting here is absolutely crucial. This whole story goes down during the intense theological and social chaos of Reformation Germany. Now, this isn't just a backdrop, it's basically an active character in the story. The very air is thick with intense spiritual anxiety about grace and damnation, creating the perfect hunting ground for a predator. At the absolute heart of our protagonist is this brutal internal war. On one side, you've got this immense intellectual pride, right? A kind of hubris that makes him believe he can think his way past any human limitation. But fighting against that is this crippling era-specific fear, a profound anxiety about his own salvation. And here it is. This is the critical link between those two forces. His pride isn't just simple arrogance. It's a defense mechanism. It's a shield that he has built to protect himself from his own terror of damnation. His obsessive quest for more knowledge is actually a desperate flight from doubt. That right there, that's his fatal flaw. Now, a predator like Mephistopheles, he sees that wound, and he doesn't just offer some crude temptation. No, he performs what the source calls psychological surgery. He crafts a bespoke offer, an offer that is perfectly, exquisitely tailored to exploit that specific blend of pride and fear. He uses what's called a two-pronged assault. Think of it as two distinct lines of attack that are both aimed at a single outcome, getting him to sign the pact. And the absolute genius of this approach is that the entire offer is designed to feel like liberation, not damnation. So prong number one targets his intellectual pride. It's the promise of Gnostic certainty, which is basically a kind of secret, divine knowledge, a master key to unlock all the universe's secrets. Now, for a scholar who is terrified of doubt, the offer of absolute final answers, well, that's almost impossible to refuse. But the real goal here is so insidious. The offer is engineered to cause a complete spiritual collapse. It's meant to push him to trade the humility that comes with faith for the pure arrogance of absolute knowing. It severs him from grace by convincing him he's now above it all. Okay, the second prong of the attack goes right for his deep existential fear. He feels powerless, right? Trapped by the rigid authority of the church. So Mephistopheles offers him the illusion of unrestricted freedom. It sounds like the perfect antidote to his anxiety, but it's a complete lie. It's a self-destructive trap designed to lead him straight into total servitude. And this is where you can see the trap's perfection. The promise of certainty, that feeds his pride. The illusion of freedom, that soothes his fear. It is a perfect psychological pincer movement. One part disarms his terror while the other weaponizes his hubris, leaving him with absolutely no defense. So, this irresistible proposition leads, with this sense of tragic inevitability, to the climax of the temptation, the signing of the formal contract, a binding, non-negotiable spiritual transaction. The pact itself is the engine that drives the rest of the story, and it is so critical to see it not as magic, but as a transaction defined by a truly catastrophic imbalance. So let's look at the brutal terms of this loan, the fine print. The principal, what he gets, is a finite, temporary period of gain, the knowledge and freedom he's desperate for. but the collateral he has to put up is the complete surrender of his soul, a thing of infinite value. The imbalance there is it's catastrophic. You know, at the end of the day, signing this contract is an act of profound spiritual and financial illiteracy. He's so blinded by what he wants right now that he completely fails to calculate the ruinous, eternal cost of the deal he just made. And you know, just like any predatory loan, this one was designed for default from the very beginning. The outcome isn't a game of chance. It is an engineered certainty. The debt must be paid. And here it is, the brutal payoff of our whole metaphor. The loan comes due, and the result is the tragic foreclosure of the spiritual debt. That cynical banker, he always collects. The end was written into the contract from the very start. And this inevitable, horrible conclusion delivers the story's core purpose. It's a powerful, unambiguous cautionary tale. The message is crystal clear. Do not trade something of eternal, infinite value for something that is temporary and finite. So let's bring this all the way back around. The protagonist is not a passive victim here. He is an active participant in his own engineered destruction. It's a simple, tragic sequence. The man, a scholar riddled with anxiety, is presented with the lure, a bespoke offer targeting his exact flaws, which then springs the cage, a transactional pact that weaponizes his own choice to guarantee his fall. And all of this leaves us with one final, provocative question. This whole story is about trading something of permanent value for a temporary gain. So my question to you is, where in our world today are we being offered that same deal?